how to find the right middle game plan. I'm going to help you with that today. I'm playing here as white. First of all, we need a solid foundation to our middle game plan. So we need this opening that we understand very well. My recommendation is the Zuckertort system for white that I'm executing here, d4, knight to f3. Why it's so important to play the middle game correct, to have the opening that you understand, because that is like a foundation, and so you know how to transition into the middle game and you know the key ideas afterwards. So I'm placing my pieces over here, and the second bishop will come to b2. They play c5. That is one of the possible ways to go. Just to avoid all of the c4 problems, I try to play b3 first, and then I am fine to continue the plan. Now, if you really understand the opening well, it means you not only know the first few opening moves, it means you also understand the middle game ideas, the entire plan, which should happen based on your opponent's ideas and moves. Well, here my opponent is playing pretty solid. I'm gonna place my bishop on b2, and this one normally goes to d3. In some exceptional cases it goes to b5, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be one of those. Sometimes it goes to e2, for example, to deal with this pin if he goes to g4, also very possible. But the bishop on b2 is great. And what those bishops normally indicate is that we are gonna play on the king sides. That would be our middle game plan. Yeah, bishop g4, that is probably one of the only exceptions where I do want to place my bishop on e2. Let's see, let's start with the move knight d2. This is always useful. If you have a choice between two moves and you don't know which one to make, for example, knight d2 and bishop somewhere, you always choose the one that you are 100% sure is useful for you. For example, this knight d2. I'm sure I don't want to go to c3. The knight would be very stupid there. So I do that, and now I can decide later on, when I already see my opponent's move, where the bishop belongs. I can also start with the move h3, always very useful to get a tempo, to control more squares, to ask this guy a question. What do you want to do? Do you want to be exchanged? That would be perfect for me. Or do you want to go back? So this opening indicates that we want to play on the king side. We want to play for the checkmate. Sometimes we also want to play in the center because we have so many opportunities in the center. So how do you find the right plan for yourself? You have to combine your strengths, the strengths of your position, with your opponent's weaknesses. That would be always the ideal case scenario. How do you understand that? Well, you look at your pieces. If you understand how to play your opening, that is exactly why I recommend this one, because it's easy to understand it, easy to start playing it, and you know the middle game plan straight away. Okay, he takes. Okay, he takes here. I don't really like it. I never understand people who just exchange the bishop for a knight without a very good reason to do that, because now our plan is so much simpler. We have a pair of bishops advantage and we can continue our attack. But okay, that's his choice. By the way, 2000 ELO rated player, very strong one, top 1% of all of the chess players. And so the strengths of our position, that would be those two bishops. Generally, we always want to open up the position if we have a pair of bishops, and they are looking towards the king side. And then we should be looking for ways to execute the attack. A lot of people have tried this opening and then came to comments and said, well, I have tried it, but it doesn't work for me. Well, it's always one of two things. Either you don't have the right plan, or you execute it the wrong way. The plan is clear here. We want to deliver a checkmate. The question is how to execute it the right way so we don't collapse. Because remember, in the middle game, it's not only about you and your plans and ideas and dreams. It's also about your opponent, what he or she wants to achieve, how to stop. Chess is always a battle of two players. So you want to be the first one to successfully execute your plan. Here, In this opening, white is trying to give a checkmate, so knight e5 and f4 and stuff like that is a normal plan, whereas black is trying to create some counterplay on the queen side. And then we have to be the first one with our threads before he is ready to create some very dangerous threats for us on this part of the board. So knight e5, like I said, is a typical move here, and then we can even play a f3. Normally we have this pawn on h2, like if the bishop does not come, so it's a little bit different. We might have some weaknesses here. We need to be a little bit careful. Yet I still want to start with this move. I think this is a very normal one. Of course, we always can change our plan because the situation might change in regards to what our opponent is doing. It's not like you choose one plan, we want to deliver a checkmate in this case, and then you do it absolutely no matter what. No, at some point you might need to shift your plan towards something more positional, for example, to play in the center in this case. But what is essential is that you have your plan consistent. Because so many players are making one move here, another move there, and then they don't achieve anything. If you're trying to catch a lot of goals at the same time, you don't achieve anything, right? So I'm making moves on this part of the board only because I want to stop certain ideas of my opponent. This knight b4 move is very annoying. This bishop is my main guy, which I need to deliver a checkmate. And so I make this move to stop my opponent's idea, because that would be annoying. Otherwise, I never make moves on this part of the board. I am weaker here. You never want to play on the side of the board where you're weaker. Try to focus on the part where you're stronger. All right, our opponent creates a threat, and that is not great for us because it's our main guy here, the knight on e5. We never want to lose it. But I'm thinking about this move f3. Whether it's possible, because if it is, I would prefer to get rid of this knight first. For example, if it goes to g3, attacking my rook, I can just play rook e1, defend the knight, and all of the problems are solved. But I'm a little bit worried about this move knight takes d4, because that's attacking my knight. Let's calculate it. f3, he goes here, I take it, he takes there, I take it, and then in the end I take the knight and I win. Alright, that seems to work. If he takes on e5, I do the same, just take everything, so I think I'm good to go with this move f3. Why do I want to play it? Because this is my opponent's best piece. You always want to, create some problems for your opponent and especially get rid of his or her best pieces. Normally, our idea is always to play f4 to support that guy on e5. But if we can start with the move f3 and achieve another goal in the process, that would be even better. Let's see what our opponent is going to do here. If he plays knight g3, it might seem dangerous for you, but it's not, in fact. It's only dangerous when your opponent can create some threats for you. This knight feels strong, but it is actually doing pretty much nothing. And then we can play rook e1, defend the knight, and we are very strong. Even then continue, yes, that's exactly what happens, even then continue with the move f4, then developing our queen, and actually this knight would be hanging, would be vulnerable here. So in general, I continue my idea. I'm trying to give a checkmate, but in the process, I look at my opponent's ideas and at his plan, what he is trying to achieve, and how I can combine, our best strategy is always to combine our plan with stopping our opponent's plan. For example, this move rook to e1, it improves my rook, it defends this knight on e5, but at the same time, it's dealing with my opponent's threat. This is the type of moves you should be looking forward to. All right, he takes, I have to take it back. I have to say that my opponent is fighting pretty good, but I still have those two bishops look at those bishops here, yes, you might say that this one is not that perfect. Oh, that's something I completely missed, bishop f2. But I just wanted to finish my thoughts here. It's really pretty good. It helps in terms of the attack very often. But now I have got this very unexpected problem. My rook is under attack and I have 0 moves to go. I actually have never seen such a funny construction. But this knight on h5, this is my hope, this knight on h5 would also be vulnerable if he has to go there. If he goes here, then maybe I can again continue attacking it. Or at least win a pawn for it. Although the c2 pawn would be hanging. So I'm talking about this variation where I'm gonna take this knight and then take the d5 pawn. This guy's hanging. That's a bit annoying. How can I play for the checkmate? If I just lose an exchange and don't get any compensation, that would be pretty bad news. So it's essential to understand I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, and also in the middle game, which is the most important part. But still, even under such conditions, it's important to follow our strategy. If we are too passive, if we are gonna just go to some set defense, we're always gonna lose. We cannot stay like boxer and expect our opponents to blunder something. No, he's gonna come and crush us eventually. So I want to still be as active as I possibly can. Let's play queen d2. That seems like the most active move for me. I threaten to go away with the rook, and also I threaten the bishop, so bishop takes e1 seems to be the only choice for my opponent, but he's so happy to do that to win the exchange. It's interesting, where did I miss that? In chess, one of the most important and useful skills you can develop is thinking about your opponent's opportunities, his counterplay, his ideas. Yeah, I was thinking maybe to take with the queen, but that wouldn't be not consistent. It would be weird, like, right, to play queen d2 and then queen e1. But actually the queen later on would come to h4 and attack there. That might have been interesting. Now I still want to use my bishop's pair advantage somehow, maybe play g4, f4, f5. I understand that is a very dangerous, sharp plan. I have nothing to lose. It's important to understand, when you have some material down, you don't want to wait. If your opponent can stabilize the situation, you're going to be just lost. There is nothing to expect. So I want to be here as active as possible. If I lose, well, so be it. But at least I'm gonna try my best to create those chances to use my bishop's advantage. And even though it didn't go as planned for me, I make mistakes. It's completely normal, and I guarantee you're gonna make mistakes in your games too. But I still try to follow my general plan. Let's see if I'm going to be successful with that. So now I want to play f5 and I want to play f6. And then queen g5 would be pretty much a checkmate threat. As long as I don't allow my opponent to open up the position too much, I don't mind opening up my king. It's only dangerous when your opponent can exploit the weaknesses and can start creating those threats for you. Yeah, he wants to play d4, which would be blocking my bishop. So I have a choice now between going through with my plan and allowing that, or maybe playing bishop d4 first. Yeah, the problem is he's gonna kick me away. But then bishop c5, no, knight Nxe5. I hope you can follow my simple variation. The point is, it's always essential, doesn't matter how great your move seems to be, to think what kind of opportunities your opponent has. So I came to a conclusion I cannot stop it, at least for now. That is why I'm going to be consistent with my plan and go on with it. f5. The problem is, if I play f6, he can play knight to g6, which is blocking my idea of giving him a checkmate and also attacking this pawn on e5, provided he plays d4 right now. So I have to be a little bit more tricky with that. Maybe queen f4 would be an idea, right, to attack his pawn and even rook e4. This d4 move is a double-edged decision. Right now, his pawn structure is perfect, and he needs to make his pawn vulnerable if he wants to achieve his goal. The more problems you can create for your opponent in the middle game, the more successful you're going to be. So your plan should be a problem for your opponent. Otherwise, well, you're not going to be successful in chess. Because the more threats you create for him or her, the more difficult it's going to be for your opponent to execute his own plan, as well as to deal with your threats. My opponent plays this move d4. And yes, I think queen f4 is the most interesting option for me. I want to connect as many of my pieces as possible. And I do want to play for this checkmating idea, but if I can create an additional threat in the process, why not? Maybe also one idea can be to improve my rook, either to e4 to attack this d4 pawn even more, or even to f1, because then once I take here, the f7 square would be available for me. That might be pretty dangerous for my opponent. The idea here is to get as much from all of your pieces as possible. You should, like, every single piece should have a very useful job to do. I think despite the fact that I'm an exchange down, it's not an easy position for my opponent at all. He has some problems to solve. Knight to c6, okay, he protects that pawn, that is not a problem for him anymore. But what about this first idea I had, just to deliver a checkmate? Maybe I kind of tricked, at least I feel that way, my opponent. Because now this knight is not capable of helping the king with the defense. So if I play queen g5, I assume his idea is to play queen e7. And then I play f6, he plays queen to f8. Then he's ready to play g6. So I'm thinking about playing f6 immediately, and then I'm threatening queen g5 with a checkmate. I think he just wants to take, because unfortunately for me, I cannot take it back with the pawn. My queen is hanging. And I don't really want to take with the queen. That would spoil my attacking chances. He can just play queen e7. If he exchanges the queens, that is a nightmare for me. So my plan here, under those circumstances where I'm in exchange down, should be not to exchange pieces, but to create initiative, to create threats, and to give my opponent checkmate. Conveniently enough, that was my plan from the very beginning. So f6 takes. Maybe I have this move queen to h6. Threatening checkmate in a few moves. He cannot ignore it. And if he plays f5, I can just take it back. And then the g file is open, so I'm ready to play rook g1 check. Maybe knight xe5 would be a little bit annoying, because not only he takes this central pawn, the real problem is that he is ready to give some discover check. So even if I play rook g1 check, he has knight to g4, double check. And then this queen is coming all the way to h2, and that is a checkmate. Wow, that's crazy. So I cannot allow that. How do I improve this line? Because if I give him one move, he's gonna play queen e7 and add more supporters for his defense. I don't like it. I would be happy to attack without giving him such chances. I can indeed play queen takes f6, but then what do I do after queen e7? Wait, I can play not queen h6, but queen to e4 with the same idea of taking on h7. Although that's not a checkmate, this is the difference. I wanted to take there with the bishop. Maybe bishop c1. Yeah, maybe bishop c1 is gonna help me, because Remember, you have to optimize all of your pieces to connect everybody to the attack. And my plan is now to play Queen H6 after takes. He plays F5. And I have this move Bishop to C1. If I'm given a chance, of course, I want to relocate it all the way here and give it checkmate. But if he takes, I have this incredible move Bishop F4. And now all of my pieces are playing. And that is why I achieved this success. The knight is pinned. There is no way to deal with this threat, like knight takes G4. Now I can take. My bishop is protected there. And if he just defends his knight, then I can just continue my attack. I have stopped the main threat. Maybe knight F3 check would be annoying, but again, just king G3, attacking the queen and this knight. Main thing is I don't get a checkmate. All right, I understand those variations would be probably too complicated. So G takes F, I play queen to H6. I threaten checkmate in one. Not queen H7, but bishop H7. Please remember, this is a very powerful idea. I play bishop takes, he has to go here, then I step back, and then I bring my queen. Maybe it's not a checkmate immediately as well, but that would be super dangerous for him in every case. And if he plays F5, trying to stop it, then I relocate my bishop. And if I use all 4 of my very dangerous pieces in the attack, I have many more chances than otherwise. So there is a plan, given a checkmate, and there is the execution. All of your moves you should make only to help you achieve your strategic goal in the middle game. Please don't make any moves that do not support your plan or that don't stop your opponent from achieving his plan. So you see here that I'm trying to combine in both in the same way, which leads to some difficulties for my opponent. He has less than a minute. That exactly is what happens. Even if you're some material down, even if you make some mistakes like I did in this game, it's not the point. I'm not trying to teach you play perfect chess. I'm trying to teach you to be logical in chess and to be consistent. You have your strategic plan, and this is how you try to execute. The right opening, the one that you understand, helps you a lot here, because I know that in the Colli-Zukertort system, you're supposed to attack on the king side, you're supposed to try to give a checkmate, and that is exactly what I'm trying to do. Okay, I feel that my opponent felt a little bit of panic, and that is why he plays king f8, trying to escape. That might actually be not so bad, because that stops, like he wants to get to here. That stops my idea somewhat. If I takes it back. I think this is still my best chance. Oh yeah, then I as well would have this idea, relocating the bishop and helping me in the defense. The question is, do I take it or do I just play bishop c1? Maybe I take it, because his idea is to run away with the king. And so with this capture, I'm basically pushing his king to the other direction, to the side where he doesn't want to go. And then I'm going to play bishop c1 and even maybe threaten queen to h6 check. Again, not allowing him to escape. Yes, that would be a checkmate threat. Oh, I like this plan. Yes, let's play that. If he's low in time, this is actually the best strategy you can have, not to make those immediate checks. Because imagine he has a few seconds on the clock. If he sees a check, it's easy for him what to do, just run away with the king. But if I make a move like that, just helping me to support my attack, then it's more complicated for him to find out the right move. Yeah, king f8 is probably still the best, but I can play queen f6. He cannot go queen f7 because queen h8 is a checkmate. Right, he does that. I have opened up my bishop, so I can use that. Now, if he plays queen f7, at least I'm gonna have some discover attack and win the exchange back, by the way. That would already be enough to get the material back. So connecting more stuff here to the attack. Knight d7 instead. All right. Wait, but I have bishop to b5 check. Remember, again, to use every single one of the pieces that you have in your attack. So if I play that, if he goes here, I just win after queen h8 is a checkmate. If he goes to f8, that's also a checkmate. So the only move he has is to go backwards. He needs to go back and forth. That's already a very, very good sign for you. But maybe it's still not the best. Maybe we can still think about our moves. Because I also have this move rook to f1, creating a huge threat of winning the f7 pawn and then the knight. It has to go here, then I'm going to win the knight. And if the knight goes away, then I have this check. Oops, bishop b5 check. And here I still have a checkmate. Yes, I think that is the best move for me. I keep that check in mind. Again, when you give a check, you make it simpler for your opponent. Have it in your pocket, but try to create even more problems for your opponent. Because now I do make this check, but I think this is a checkmate. Goes here, I just have queen h8. If he goes here, then I have queen f7. Anyway, that's checkmate for me. I hope this was very useful for you, and now you have the middle game strategy you can use in your games. Here, you can learn everything you need to know about this magic opening to win easy as white.